Hi, folks, and welcome to week 6. Before we dive into this week's material, which is going to be anatomy and physiology, and that material is going to actually round out the rest of the semester, I want to just discuss a couple of things with you. Of course, last night you turned in your organism profiles, and I'll be grading those within the next few days. Now, mind you, the next step in the course project is the presentation. And on the presentation, you're going to be utilizing the same organism that you chose and did your profile on, but this time you're going to focus on different aspects of that organism's biology. So that between the two assignments, you're going to get a well-rounded, all-encompassing biological view of how your organism lives in the world around it, from its structure and function, life cycle, and evolution that you covered on the profile, to things such as its reproductive ecology, its habitat, and its foraging or energy ecology that you're going to cover in the presentation. Now, we developed this project such that we chose the particular aspects for each, the profile and the presentation, based on those aspects of the biology that were more observable to fit into the presentation. This way, in your observations throughout the semester of your organism, and hopefully during that time you're capturing some videos and photos, you can take those videos and photos, capture those actual behaviors such as reproductive ecology, foraging ecology, and habitat, along with some other things like other biotic and abiotic interactions with their environment, and use those in your actual presentation. Because remember, in the presentation, that's where you're going to show off your photos, your videos, etc. Now, mind you, I know you can't get all of the behaviors, and some of you may be having a hard time capturing your organisms that often, so you can use stock photos from the internet. But just like when you use any other information off of the internet and from other sources for that matter, you always need to cite your work. So if you use stock photos or images from any other sources that are not your own, make sure that you cite your references for those photos and videos on the slide itself and on a reference slide that you incorporate at the end of your presentation. All this information is detailed in the SCIN130 course project guide, so refer back to that if you have any questions, and of course you can email me if that doesn't answer the questions you may have. And lastly, remember you're using the same organism that you used in your profile for your presentation. You're just covering different aspects. Again, the profile covered its evolution, the organism structure and function of an organ or organ system, as well as its life cycle. But in the presentation, you're going to be focusing more on the foraging and energy ecology, depending on whether you chose an animal or plant. You're going to focus on its reproductive ecology, its habitat, and its interaction with the other factors and living organisms surrounding it. Of course, just like your profile, you're going to include an introduction and background information for your viewers, because remember, I'll grade these in week 7 and week 8. You're going to share them with the rest of your classmates. And I'll talk more about the specifics next week. I just want to bring up one last thing, course extensions. If for any reason you all feel that you need extra time on assignment due to a legitimate reason, just email me in advance so we can take care of it. If for any reason you need a course extension because you can't actually finish the course, that goes through the registrar, but it's got to be for important reasons such as medical issues, deployment issues, etc. And all that can be found in the student handbook. If you have questions, refer to that. If not, always email me first, because I'm the one who will approve them or not, depending on the situation. So always make sure before you make any requests for those that you do qualify. And lastly, I just want to talk about this week's learning material before you dive into the actual lesson 6 on the menu bar to the left. Again, we're going to be starting anatomy and physiology, in other words, structure and function of living organisms. And as you're going to learn this week, we've already learned about cells. Many cells come together to make up tissues. And there are various different types of tissues, from connective tissue to muscle tissue to nervous tissue, etc. And those tissues come together collectively to make up organs. Of course, we're very familiar with organs. The heart, the lungs, the skin. Yes, the skin is an organ and the largest organ of the body. And those are just a few organs, and collectively different organs come together to make up organ systems, such as the cardiovascular system, the nervous system, the immune system. And there are 11 systems in total, and you're going to study each one of those. Starting this week, you're going to actually dive into the muscular system, the nervous system, and the skeletal system. You're also going to touch on the special senses, and then in subsequent weeks, you'll learn about the remainder of those 11 organ systems. So the nervous system is actually my favorite. As a former practicing chiropractor, that is our main area of expertise. And to me, the nervous system is just utterly fascinating. I mean, the brain and the spine and all of the nerves that come out of it control every cell, every living tissue in your body. So it's kind of important. And again, the circuitry is just mind-boggling. And there's still so much to be learned about it. So I hope you have fun learning this week. And if you have any questions, shoot me an email. Otherwise, enjoy the week ahead and see you in another week.